I'm Debbie Godfrey. Welcome to the Positive Parenting PEP Talks podcast.
Today I wanted to share some more success stories out of a recent class I'm teaching. And I don't know about you, but I always found a lot of inspiration from other people's successes and what they were doing well. So one mom was in the kitchen and she said, I'm not the type that really likes cooking all that much. I just want to get it done. And I'm making fajitas and my daughter comes in and really wants to help. And so even though I just wanted to get this done, I decided to let her help. So she actually gave her a knife. She's 5 years old, but she said she showed her how to use it, and she cut the bell peppers, and then she showed her daughter where to cut them and how to hold her little hands. And she said her daughter was just so surprised she was letting her help and actually use a knife. Her eyes were all wide. But she was doing a really good job, and she was being really careful, and Mom was supervising her. And so then they started cutting the chicken. And the mom cut it into strips, and then she was telling her daughter where to cut it into like little cubes. And then all of a sudden she realized, why am I telling her how to cut it into cubes? Who cares what shape it is? So she said to her daughter, you can do it any way you want. And she said, I can do it any way I want? She goes, yeah, you can do it any way you want. And she said her little daughter put her little hands down, and she was holding her hands exactly the way Mom showed her. And she'd say, I can do it any way I want. And she'd cut it. And she'd say, I can do it any way I want. And she'd cut another piece. And Mom could just see how proud she was and how happy she was and how much self-esteem she had from being able to help like that. And the dinner turned out really delicious, and the rest of the family was very complimentary, and she was just beaming that whole night. And Mom said they just had a great night, and she's really glad she took the extra time to let her help, even though she didn't want to initially. And then another parent, Dad, the whole reason he took the class was because his kids were fighting all the time, and he really wanted to work on some of the sibling fighting and sibling rivalry issues. And one of the things that we had talked about is sometimes you've just got to let them duke it out. And of course, not all the time. And if your intuition says, this one needs protection, definitely protect your kids. But there's times where you may make the judgment call to just let them handle it. Say the two of you need to work this out. And even if it gets physical, sometimes they just have to do it. So they were in a fight, and he just made that call, and he's like, he went into another room and he just stayed out of it, and they got really physical, and they were really just, screaming and yelling and hitting each other and that sort of thing. And the mom actually got a little upset. Mom's not taking the class, just Dad. And he said, I just really feel like they need to figure this out. And so eventually they quit fighting, and he had a talk with them later about, the two of you really should not be fighting this way. It's really, look at how hurt you both are, and how bad you feel, and et cetera, et cetera. But he didn't punish them or anything. He just had a nice chat with them, and then and let it go at that. And he said for the next 2 weeks, he was just sharing this recently, he said since that had happened, they hadn't been fighting anymore. It was almost like they did that, and it kind of solved or handled whatever little petty issues they were having that were causing them to get in fights all the time. So I hope those two stories have given you some ideas or inspiration for something that you may be experiencing at home, and that you can use them to do something different with your kids. Have a great day, and happy parenting.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Positive Parenting PEP Talks podcast. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Debbie Godfrey, owner and founder of PositiveParenting.com. I hope you'll go and check out my website and follow me on Instagram, and let me know about what you thought about today's episode. Did you learn something new? Were you able to do something different with your children? Did you have a success story? Those are my favorite to share. Let me know. Contact me. I'd love to hear from you. And also, what future topics would you be interested in hearing about on the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast? Thank you so much for being here and for all of your support. Take care and happy parenting.